What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Figure It Out of the Basement's Black Series Talk Show. I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
Today we're going to be talking code names, and we are continuing on our Black Series retrospective. We're moving on to the Orange Line, Waves 3 and 4.
Yeah, some interesting wave breakdowns this time around.
Before we get into that, though, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Justin, let's jump into those code names.
Yep. You know us here at Out of the Basement. We love our code names. Yakface, every once in a while, will drop some rumored code names, and we all like to speculate, and it's impossible to determine what they are. But they are as follows: Sprint, Speedy, Quick, Marathon, Fast, and Thick.
Gee, Justin, I hope Thick is Darth Talon, am I right? I swear I like her for the character.
Yep, and that's it. I just like to include those every time because we don't really speculate on what they could be. They were written in yellow text, so if we're going by Galaxy Packaging mural, I'm thinking Clone Wars. Some of these might be Target exclusive as well. That's what they wrote in the article. So, yeah, code names. Do with that what you will.
So let's jump into the meat and potatoes of this episode, Justin. We are continuing on our Black Series retrospective, which, if you haven't seen, we've done 2 other videos already covering Wave 1 and 2 of the Orange Line.
Yep, which also was the entire year of 2013. So the Orange Line is not done yet, but we are into Orange Line 2014. And then the later half of 2014, that's when they switched it to the blue light packaging. And there's some interesting wave breakdowns. Let me just go through them real quick, because it's not just like a standard wave of 4 figures. There's actually 2 waves here. Wave 3, coming in with number 9, is the Stormtrooper. 10 is Obi-Wan Kenobi from Revenge of the Sith. 11 is Luke Skywalker Bespin. And then wave 4, which is only 2 figures, number 12 is Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith. We skip 13 and go straight to 14 with the Phase 1 Clone Trooper. And this is one of the most interesting bits of early Black Series history, and that is the Black Series Chewbacca was originally supposed to be number 13. And they actually had a prototype where they tried to cram this poor guy into a box, and I'll show the photo right here. It's kind of hilarious.
Right.
We would have got bad warping.
Oh, that especially the one leg that's really bent.
Yeah,
that would have been bad news.
So they just skipped over 13 because Chewbacca ended up being in the blue line, which we will cover later on.
So to start things off with a little bit more of an in-depth look at each of these figures, let's talk about the Stormtrooper, which, just like the Sand Trooper, at least from the neck down, has been used many, many times. It was used for many, many years.
Great body.
It was very good for the time, and I still think, despite, like the leg warping and some other issues with it, it's really not all that bad. But where I think this figure falls apart is the helmet sculpt. Instead of just using the Sand Trooper helmet mold and just not putting weathering on it, they sculpted a new helmet for this release.
True, which we have said before that we think the Sand Trooper helmet is like some of the best proportions in the Black Series as far as helmet sculpts go. So I couldn't really tell you why they chose to do a different sculpt, and it looks more skeletal and like elongated.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a human head could fit in there.
Right, and some people speculate it's because in the original trilogy, the Stormtrooper helmet, specifically in the first movie, there's like 2 different molds. So they look different, even though I think if we're trying to look at this from an in-universe perspective, I don't think the helmets would actually be different. I think that the helmets were just different because of, circumstances surrounding how they made that movie.
Right, but the body does look a little skeletal as well, especially compared to the new 2020 Stormtrooper body, which we think is vastly superior.
Absolutely.
The only thing this Stormtrooper has on the newer one is bicep swivel, but I think butterfly joints more than make up for that. Obi-Wan Kenobi, on the other hand, is an absolute garbage orange peel of a figure, and even for the time, because we do forgive a lot of these figures. I mean, it's literally 2013, 14. It's when the line first came out. So we're pretty easy on most of these figures. But even back then, I remember this Obi-Wan being straight garbage.
Yeah. We came more so into full-time collecting around the blue line, which Obi-Wan does get a repack release in the blue line. Same exact figure. But yeah, I remember looking at it in the stores around this time and just being like, nope. Not for $20, not this. And you see reviews and you see other figures at the time, and yeah, even then I remember distinctly like the single jointed elbows that just barely got to 90 degrees, and Obi-Wan struggles to hold his lightsaber with both hands. It's almost impossible to get him in that pose without bending the lightsaber to some degree.
It's pretty embarrassing that they chose to archive this figure with photoreal, which did not fix his peanut head and the super pale face. Ewan McGregor, he's a handsome man, and they did him very, very dirty with this release.
Usually for older Black Series figures, you could at least say, oh, the head sculpt was good, but it's just the paint that held it back. But no, you look at this Obi-Wan head and it's, oh, no, that's a bad sculpt. So really not much to say about this figure in particular. And then the last figure for the wave was Bespin Luke, another figure that's pretty underwhelming. I mean, it's decent.
Yeah, it's just that old Black Series lightsaber wielding articulation. It just does not hold up to like the sick, deep cut, single joint hinges and the butterfly joints that we get today, like with Ahsoka. So whenever I do go back and look at this figure, I'm like, okay, it's fine. I actually have this one. I have the original release, and then I also have the 40th Empire Strikes Back version, which the photoreal is definitely better. I never thought this was a particularly bad figure, but yeah, it's just that old sculpt. It's not the best articulation, you know, even with the re-release that happened. It's just kind of
Yeah, it's mid.
And like I said earlier, Wave 4 only consists of 2 figures because of the whole Chewbacca thing. So Anakin Skywalker, you know, top 3 most expensive figure in the line. I actually got the archive version of this because when we got in, it was that Darth Maul and Anakin. I remember they were both easily over 100.
Yep, with Boba Fett fluctuating.
Yeah, so there was just no way I could have picked this up. The archive is better, but again, it's just that old Black Series chunky articulation, and when it comes to lightsaber wielding characters, it's just not the best.
Yeah, respect for the alternate head.
True, that's like the second time we got alt heads in the line, and I like that. You get the more neutral expression of the entertainment.
Yes.
And then you also get the Sith, the evil Sith eye face. I think that's a really cool concept, and this was back, you know, definitive version of the character, so you have to include both heads.
Yes.
So that was really cool, and I like that the archive retained that as well.
Yeah, both heads, but no robe. Obi-Wan, no robe.
You know, everyone says, take me back to the glory days. I'm like, they never came with robes. It was always like throwing darts at a board and seeing, you know, which one came with, oh, Mace Windu, he'll come with a robe. Plo, Kit, nah. Anakin, nah. Yep. Obi, nah. I mean, and talking about repacks, they already repacked that Obi-Wan in the blue line.
Right.
They were already repacking things way back then, but we'll get to that when we get into the blue line. But one figure they did do, which I liked for a long time, is the Phase 1 Clone Trooper.
Yeah.
The worst thing about this, double jointed arms that the old clone body, you've heard us complain about this a million times.
Yep.
Double jointed arms that were an obtuse angle.
Yeah, couldn't even get 90 out of them.
You couldn't even get 90 degrees out of these double jointed arms, and they did it for Commander Fox, Commander Gree, all of the Phase 1 repaints. This clone body has been around for a long time, and because of those double jointed arms, not a good figure.
Nope. And for this one in particular, I would say it is just completely retired at this point because of the 2020 updated version, because we do have a new plain white Phase 1 clone trooper on a brand new body, which some people might say it's a little too small, but they still painted the black line, which is a problem they have with the Phase 2 figures. So I think this figure should be completely retired because it's been completely redone, much better.
Now, what I will say about this clone trooper in a very positive light is the proportions. I think the old clone body has the best proportions out of any clone they've ever done, maybe aside from like Rex and Bly, because we love that Rex and Bly sculpt. But I loved the helmet. I loved, the shoulder pads. They had the theatrical shoulder pads that are the larger ones, the animated style that they've kind of been doing. They're really small shoulder pads. So from a purely visual, like, aesthetic, which, is kind of maybe the most important part of an action figure, to each their own. I will say, visually, very, very, very good. Even like the Order 66 pack and the Phase 2 clones that are on this body, but the worst articulation.
Yeah.
So it's,
Right. If you want to vanilla pose it, that's fine. But if you're looking for something a little bit more dynamic, you got to go with the 2020 version. And then, of course, out of all of these figures, the most expensive is, of course, Anakin. Yeah. Which, no surprise there. Expensive back then, has been expensive for years now. Went down a little bit in price when the archive came out. But then when the archive ran its course, then it shot right back up. And so did the archive version, shooting right back to the moon. So
that was actually, we covered that on a recent episode of Figure It Out. Check that out. Most expensive figure in the line. Yeah. And what that says about prequel desirability.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, this was kind of a really good balance of, like, prequel stuff. We got a clone, Anakin, Obi.
Right.
Wow, they did Obi and Annie right off the bat.
The mix of character selection between these two waves is great. If they would have included Chewbacca, the first wave, the third wave would have been 2 OT and a prequel, and the fourth wave would have been 2 prequel and an OT.
Hasbro, can we please get back to that? I mean, you did Annie and Obi right off the bat. Can we get a new Anakin and Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith? A Mustafar tool... Can we get a newly tooled Obi-Wan Kenobi in Revenge of the Sith from... Can we get a newly tooled Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin from Revenge of the Sith? A duel on Mustafar 2-pack?
Right. That would be awesome.
A 2-pack that people would want?
Right. Even people who bought the archive releases of both figures, which I did personally. I have the archive of both Anakin and Obi-Wan. I would hesitate. I would not hesitate. I would not hesitate to purchase 2 brand new figures of these same exact characters.
Without question.
So that just goes to show you, Hasbro, people who already bought the archive versions are willing to buy them again. Yeah. That should be a clear indication about these two.
Right. And we know they know that we want it. They've tried to pitch this idea, but it just keeps getting shot down and shot down and shot down. I'm talking about like a newly tooled Anakin. That they know we want it, and they have pitched it, and it just fails. Because Boomer, I don't know.
Right.
Boomers who said, back in my day, no one liked Jar Jar in those prequels.
Right. Which, like we've discussed, Jar Jar not selling well probably didn't help things. But that's a discussion for a different video. That is all we've got for you today on Figure It Out. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. We're always talking about Star Wars The Black Series here on the channel. And if you'd like to support us in a more direct manner, we do also offer a channel membership for 99 cents a month. And we do have a small collection of merch. There are links for everything down in the description of this video. Big thank you and special shout out to our current channel members, though. Your continued support is truly appreciated. Thank you for watching. I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
And we will see you all next time on Out of the Basement.